Enjoy 1% merchant commission when you accept Lanka Pay cards. Contact these banks today.
Welcome to Times Online. Today we have the first female CEO of the Sampath Bank, Mrs. Ayodhya Iddawela Perera, joining with us for her first media interview. Welcome, Ms. Perera. How has your new role been?
New role I have accepted at a very challenging time, and it is a very challenging task. But with my maturity in the banking industry, I'm pretty comfortable that I will be able to take this bank to where it should be.
These are unprecedented times that you have taken up this very unique position. And now, with the value added tax kicking in, what kind of sectors would be affected most in your portfolio?
Value added tax increased from 15 to 18 for certain sectors, and for certain sectors from 0 to 18. This mostly hurt the consumer spending, resulting in lesser demand for goods and services in the market. Mostly the discretionary spending will have an impact on value in the increase of the value added tax. We will have an impact in this VAT increase across the market. But at the same time, we see some stimulating factors as well. Economic growth turning into positive, and tourism picking up, private credit demand growing. So with all these, even though we expect some kind of an impact on the VAT increase, we believe that the industry's performance will depend on all these positives during the year 2024.
You mentioned that the economic growth has started to kind of be on the upside. Did you witness it from the start of this year?
Yes. Actually, last year it was a negative, and now the prediction is that this year the country will record somewhere around 1.5% positive growth. We see the clients' approaches are different from what it was last year. If we talk to a client last year, it is that all negatives we have. But now we see little by little the positives coming up, especially this tourism sector. It is not that that sector alone is picking up. It is that all allied sectors relating to tourism, starting from the meat supplier, vegetable supplier, all the fruit supplier, let it be transport provider, all are now waking up with a greater enthusiasm.
So it was predicted that the non-performing loans are slated to rise this year. What kind of provisions has your bank made in this regard?
Sampath Bank has always been having a very proactive and a prudent provisioning policy. We have adequately provided for non-performing advances up to now, and we will continue to do that. As a national bank, we have been helping our clients during these difficult times. Despite us increasing our provision covers, we restructured, rescheduled facilities for all types of borrowers in our books, starting from the personal borrowers, retail clients, SMEs, mid-corporates, large corporates. Whenever they wanted a restructuring, reschedulement, we are there to support them during these difficult times. With that, we had to increase our provision covers, looking at the potential risk, because the cash flows those clients were recording before crisis and during crisis were totally different. So it is very less compared to what it was before. But still we were prepared, looking at their sustainable business models, that we will support them. We have covered on proactive basis also some extent to the provisioning, and we carry a very sizable provision cover for non-performing advances.
Will you see a lot of stresses on the recoveries this year?
Talking about the past few years, even if we talk to a client and explain them the repercussions, they were unable to even tell us what they are going to do if you look at 2023 and before. But today we see clients coming back to the bank and talking to us, requesting us to give them a acceptable settlement plan for their non-performing advances. Why this is happening is something is happening that clients see some positive happening, and other biggest positive seen is interest rates have come down. So due to that, the clients see that, okay, now I can start repaying. The rates that they have been enjoying around 12-13% went up to 28-30. So now they see, okay, I can now start repaying my debt. So they are coming to for asking for restructuring, reschedulements, and we are supporting them. Looking at these slight positives we see in the market, we don't expect a heavy growth in the stage 3 advances.
Going back to the VAT, economists predict that VAT will curtail credit card spend. What are your strategies to counteract this?
Whether VAT will curtail the credit card spending or not, we are yet to experience. Ideally, the card spending should increase by that amount of VAT. If you are to look at the drop in card spending, there can be a drop if the consumer decides that I will spend less than my increase in tax. So other than that, with the VAT, there will be an increasing card spending. We have our own strategies lined up to grow the card business, support the growth in a responsible manner. We don't want our customers to be more indebted for us to grow our business. That is not Sampath Bank strategy. If the client needs to manage their spending on their cards, our advice for them would be that. If they are finding it difficult in paying their card dues, we will look at that as well.
This year, big interest margins from government securities, the G-Secs, will come down. What will you do to counteract this?
Margins expanded due to risk that prevailed at that time. With the stabilization of the economic conditions, the risk premiums will come down. The margins will definitely come down. Banking business is not about expanding margins, more about expanding credit to grow the potential sectors in the economy. We have not been able to do that during the last 2 to 3 years. Banks have actually made money when the margins were thin, if you look at the past, but the economy expanded at that time. We want to play a very positive role in the economic growth, empowering Sri Lankans and supporting their business growth. It is not about countering the margins contracted. It's about driving our economy to reach its full potential in the shortest possible time.
How will Sampath Bank manage the change in the single borrowing limit this year?
Central Bank is bringing up a new directive where the single borrower limits will come down. This will have an impact on the very large exposures, conglomerates, multinationals, where those are the businesses that will reach up to this single borrower limit level. The limit coming down will anyway share the risk amongst banks. So that is a good way to look at this single borrower limit drop. We are well within those single borrower limits. We have internal thresholds slightly below the central bank regulatory limits. So we will be able to comfortably manage the single borrower limit changes and grow our business within such new thresholds.
What are your plans to manage costs this year?
We are moving away from that mentality that has been there for the past 2 to 3 years because of the shocks. From 2024, we are more looking towards what investments we need to make to get to the next stage of our development. With economy stabilizing and IMF program as a strong anchor on policy framework, we feel Sri Lanka's growth can surprise many positive sides. So we are ready to forget about these cost factors and take up that opportunities that will come our way.
That is a wonderful take on the current situation, Mrs. Perera. What is your take on the consolidation that the central bank governor also highlighted recently?
Sri Lanka's banking industry is too fragmented. And the governor is right on that need of consolidation. For a bank to exploit opportunities like Port City and expand regionally, they need to be bigger and stronger. But having said that, however, it is very complicated, time-consuming and risky exercise.
Sampath Bank has been in the forefront of the industry amidst and amongst your peers. Will you be looking at mergers and acquisitions in the future?
Sampath Bank has always been open for inorganic growth opportunities. And this year, there is no difference. However, it has to be the right opportunity that is synced with our vision and purpose.
What about your regional aspirations?
We believe we have many strengths and expertise that can help us make a mark in regional expansion. We will carefully evaluate opportunities that come our way and decide the appropriate one.
Are you looking at them actively?
We are looking at opportunities. It is not a no, but it should come at the right time with the right investment and with the right return what we expect and the shareholder value that we can increase.
Finally, Mrs. Pereira, the green bonds are being discussed about. Are you looking at launching them?
Yes, it is something that we saw recently. The market is looking at all these green concepts. Sampath Bank started this environmental contribution very inception. Hope you could remember we had a program where we said Parisarayata Vinadiyak. From the ATM card we contributed 10 rupees for this environmental protection funds. So we have been there and we are there. Looking at the green financing side, we are very strong in renewable energy financing. Almost all the large renewable energy projects, let it be wind, let it be hydro, let it be solar. Sampath Bank is a partner in these projects and we will continue in all aspects to give priority to this green funding. 3-4 months back, we started discussions with a few DFIs to look at this green bond issuance and some green credit lines as well, and we are working towards that, and we will be in the market at the right time.
Thank you very much for joining with us. It was such a pleasure to have spoken to you.
Thank you very much, Duruthu, for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us.